Alright everybody, today I'm going to read Chapter 8. Last time, Spike came home late at night and they both fell asleep. I know it's been a really short chapter. Anyways, let's hop right into it. The next evening, Twilight awoke and startled at the time. Rushed out of bed and combed her mane thoroughly. She couldn't believe she had slept so late. She was to meet Luna in just a few hours. Twilight dashed around, preparing herself to visit the glamorous streets of Canterlot and to walk through the exquisite halls of the palace. Spike was still fast asleep, and Twilight didn't want to wake him, so she scribbled out a quick note and placed it on the door, slipping out and closing it quietly behind her. She tiptoed down the stairs and walked outside into the warm evening sunlight. Twilight took one last look at the library and locked the door behind her. Twilight began walking off toward the train station to Canterlot. She knew a shortcut that would get her there in half the time and beat the travel rush. She estimated that it would take her a good hour and a half to get to the palace doors. It was a fairly quiet trip as Twilight sat on a bench in the rear of the train and stared out over the plains and fields of Ponyville. To keep herself entertained, she read from her mind some passages that she had memorized from a book, and eventually reviewed her memorized schedule for the days to come. Twilight's prediction had been correct as she walked from the train station to the massive bronze gate outside of Canterlot. A few pointers she recognized waved over to her. Twilight replied in kind, kept walking toward the hill leading up to the towering palace. As she reached the hill, she ascended it at a steady pace and walked right into the front doors of the palace. She walked forward a few moments, observing the two guards that she knew and taking a deep breath. The towering guards at the door didn't normally stop Twilight since she was such a regular visitor to the palace, and they had all come to know her very well. The guard on the right stepped forward and said, "Good morning, Miss Sparkle. Her Majesty Princess Celestia isn't here today. She's gone on royal business to Manhattan." Twilight cleared her throat and said, "Oh, thank you for telling me, but I'm not here to see Princess Celestia. I'm here to see Princess Luna. Is she available?" The guard gave a quick bow. "Yes, ma'am, you may go right in." The other guard stepped aside and nodded his head politely as Twilight walked into the beautiful and intricately constructed grand hall. She knew the palace fairly well. Looking longingly at the massive oak doors that lead to the library, the largest in Equestria, and then climbing the great marble staircase, the princess' chambers were located atop the spires of the palace on the very top floor, so that they could view all their peaceful kingdom. While it was an exhausting climb upstairs, Twilight could barely contain her excitement at getting to see Luna. She remembered a vivid dream with her, and Luna, the previous night, thought brought a soft blush to her face. She finally took the last step and was now on the very top floor. She walked down the wide hallway, taking looks at vivid and beautiful stained glass windows which never failed to amaze her. At the very end of the hall, two heavy oak doors stood facing each other. One had a sun, the other a crescent moon. Trying to contain her excitement, Twilight took a deep breath and knocked softly on the door. "Come in," said a voice that Twilight could tell was Luna's. Twilight eased open the door and stepped into the dark room. The room was so dark that Twilight nearly jumped out of her skin as a voice exclaimed, "Twilight?" And she felt hooves wrapped tightly around her. "I've been waiting for you all day." Twilight exhaled. "I know, I'm so sorry that I'm late. It's just that Spike." She was caught short as Luna kissed her. She broke away and dashed across the room. "Let me open the drapes a little. Apologies. I like it and wish for it to be dimly lit in my chambers," Luna giggled as she used her magic to open the curtain. The room was bathed with a soft evening glow, and they both had to blink a couple of times to adjust their eyes to the new light. Luna walked over and lay softly on her bed, beckoning Twilight over. Twilight joined her and walked across the room and crawled into the large bed with Luna. It was Luna who broke the silence. "Twilight, guess what?" Twilight lifted her head quizzically. "I bet you can't beat me," Luna exclaimed, patting her lips firmly on Twilight's and pledging her hoof between Twilight's legs. "Oh yeah?" Twilight broke the kiss and retaliated, putting her hoof between Luna's legs and rubbing her clit at a rapid pace. Luna moaned as Twilight got creative and used her magic to vibrate her internals. Luna did the same to Twilight and tried to max her pleasure by furiously massaging her vaginal lips. Luna could feel some of Twilight's pre-cum dripping out into her hoof, so she brought it up to her mouth and took a few licks of it, further arousing Twilight. She then placed her hoof back between Twilight's legs and continued to rub quickly. It was almost impossible to tell who would break first. They were each rubbing vigorously on each other's soaked vaginas and using their magic to vibrate their very core. This time, it was Twilight who went first. She couldn't control herself as a stream of liquid came flying out of her pussy and landed in a small puddle on the floor. Playfully irritated that she had been beaten, Twilight used all of her magical will to vibrate Luna. Sensing that Luna was on the brink of orgasm, she took one hoof and placed it right underneath Luna's pussy. Twilight used her free hoof to rub Luna's clit until she could feel her breathing begin to increase. Twilight braced herself as Luna's vaginal lips expanded. This time, though, Luna only let out a groan. The room didn't shake, and objects didn't violently misplace or overturn. Luna moaned rather loudly as her warm liquid dripped out into Twilight's awaiting hoof. Twilight held her hoof still as Luna's cum puddled out into it. Luna watched aroused as Twilight lifted it to her mouth and dipped it back like a cup. Emptying the worm juice into her mouth, Twilight gulped and blushed. She smiled at Luna after she had cleared her throat of all the liquid. The end. Alright, guys. God, why that? Wow, it was so exhausting for me for some reason. Anyway, guys, thank you all for watching, listening, and subscribing.
100,000 stories have filled my head as I look for the end.